insecure attachment. So there was a psychologist that developed the attachment theories, and the attachment theories is that in our childhood we developed different attachment styles based on the interactions we had with our caregivers. And so, based on your interactions, if you had certain types of caregivers that were unstable in their affections, or narcissistic or abusive, or maybe just a little bit absentee, or if they were abandoning, then you developed an attachment style that was possibly insecure or anxious or avoidant. And we'll talk about what these different types of attachment styles mean. But ultimately, if you didn't develop a secure attachment, then you're living your life currently and having your relationships disrupted and negatively impacted by this constant sense of anxiety or of fear. And so, if you're an avoidant person, then you don't even want to get into a relationship. And this is not just romantic relationships. An avoidant person may even avoid regular friendships. Some avoidants will do the friendships, but they won't do romantic relationships. What makes a person avoidant is that they look at the concept of having a relationship and they say, not me, I'm not doing that. And their reason is because they don't feel like they can trust anyone. They feel like relationships will lead to pain and hurt, and they don't believe that they can handle the hurt. So they rather not even try. Again, an avoidant person just avoids all relationships. They say, you know what? I'm done. Maybe they've been married before. Maybe they were in a relationship. Maybe they had a boyfriend. Maybe they had a girlfriend and they got hurt, or they felt like they hurt other people. And they said, you know what? I can't do this. I'm not doing relationships anymore. And that's how they live the rest of their life, as avoidance. There's also a term, fearful avoidant, which is having the trust issues. And so you're maintaining a distance from others, right? And so a fearful avoidant may have some small relationships, but they will maintain a distance. They'll be emotionally distant. And if they do end up in a romantic relationship, they will probably end up abandoning their mate or their spouse, or just being inaccessible. So instead of opening up their heart and being totally emotionally invested, they're more like reserved and like, no, I don't want to put my all into this because I know this is just going to end badly. And then you have what's called an anxious avoidant, or an anxious attached person. Someone who's anxiously attached, just like it sounds, is suffering from a lot of anxiety, but their desire to be in a relationship overpowers their avoidant tendencies. So an anxious person is avoidant also, but their desire to have a relationship and to have love, their loneliness just overpowers their avoidance. So for time periods, they go, oh, forget it. I can't do a relationship. I'm not going to date any men or any women. And then they meet someone and they're like, oh my God, this is the best person in the world. I got to do this. I got to do this. And they go into the relationship, and then they're in the relationship and they're just scared to death. Like, oh no, I'm gonna get left. This person's gonna leave me. This person's gonna abandon me. They're gonna reject me. They're gonna hurt me. I'm gonna find out something bad about this person. I don't know if I can trust this person. And all of that, going 24/7, creates mental gymnastics so that they perform this illogical apparatus. They create this apparatus in their brain that allows them to climb out of the relationship, and ultimately they just self-sabotage. So they can have what would be otherwise a good partner. And then they look at that partner and they go, you know what? This partner told me that in their past, they had someone that cheated on them. So probably this partner is also going to cheat, and this is his era to cheat. And here I am just sitting here like a sitting duck about to get cheated on. You know what? I'm not going to sit here and just wait around to get cheated on. I have to find some evidence that this guy is really as bad as I think he is. And then so they start going through the phone or they start seeing the way he talks to a waitress and they go, see, I knew it. I couldn't trust this guy. And then they're ghost. They run away or they sabotage out or they leave or something like that, right? So they sabotage their relationship. Why? Because they're anxious all the time. When they're not in a relationship, they're also anxious. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be alone. I can't handle being alone. This is terrible. I need someone. I want someone. I'm incomplete. And then they get in a relationship and this is terrible. This person can leave me. They have too much power. I don't want to sit here, right? They're constantly anxious all the time. They're always worried. So you don't have to memorize or categorize whether you're anxiously attached or you're a fearful avoidant or you're disorganized avoidant, which is just another word for anxiously attached, or you're just an avoidant, because all of it falls under one simple umbrella. And that simple umbrella is insecure attachment. That's what it all is. It's all insecure attachment. Ultimately, when it comes to attaching to people, you don't feel secure. That's all. It's just that simple. Hope that helps. You're just insecurely attached. Again, for anyone who's just joining us, what it means to be insecurely attached is that you are afraid of losing the person or of getting hurt in some way or that you can't trust people. And so you either avoid relationships or you sabotage them or you feel too anxious when you're in them to actually enjoy them. Okay, great. So what do we do about it? Well, there's one attachment style that is healthy. And what attachment style is that? That is the secure attachment style. A securely attached person understands that pain is inevitable, but they believe they will be able to handle the pain. A securely attached person believes that love is abundant and they are abundant in love. And so they give love, they share love with others, but at the same time, they're able to understand that other people are going to love in their own way. A securely attached person is not worried about being dumped because they believe they are lovable. So if a person dumps them or fails to love them, they are not going to take that personally. If a person dumps you or fails to love you, you don't take it personally when you're securely attached. As a result, you're not afraid to go into relationships. And when you are in a relationship, you're relaxed. No problem. Whatever you want to do, boo. So if your partner says, you know what, I don't think you're the right one for me, a securely attached person would say, I'm so sorry to hear that. You're very important to me and I wouldn't want to lose you. However, I recognize your autonomy and freedom to be able to come and go as you please. So if this is not the right relationship for you, or if I'm not the right person, you have my full support in going and doing what will make you happy. That's what a securely attached person does. They're not afraid of being left. They're not afraid of being abandoned. They're not afraid of relationships. As a result, they go out and they get relationships started. It's not a problem. No big deal. They go out, they get relationships started. And do they lose relationships? Yeah, of course. They get dumped. They have to dump some people. It happens. But it can't work any other way. You can't have successful relationships as an anxiously attached person. You can't have successful relationships as an avoidant. You can't have successful relationships with an avoidant or with an anxiously attached person. So I get a lot of questions like, hey, I'm with an anxiously attached person. Um, what's your advice for how we can make this work? Or, hey, I'm with an avoidant. How can I make it work with them? If they don't cure it, it's not going to work because they're going to destroy the relationship. That's what being insecurely attached means. You are ultimately going to act in a way that is to the detriment of your relationship. So we got to heal this. So do you know how to heal it? Well, if not, I'm here to help. Ultimately, our goal is to become a securely attached person. That's how we heal insecure, anxious attachment. We need to become a securely attached person. How do we do that? Anytime we want to heal something, we need to change the three B's: our beliefs, our bias, and our behavior. The beliefs, the bias, it's the way that we think, and our behavior. So, what are the beliefs of a insecurely attached person, an avoidant? What are the beliefs that keep you there? Well, the beliefs that insecurely attached person has is something like relationships are a waste, or I'll get hurt. If I do a relationship, I'll just get hurt. Or there's no one I can trust. Or I'm not lovable. Or I'm not good enough to be loved. Or relationships are not worth the drama. Or what's the point? Everything ends. Okay. So identify what is your beliefs that's keeping you in the anxious, insecure, avoidant category. Go ahead and write it down. What is your belief? Because we're going to heal this tonight so that you don't have to have insecure attachment for the rest of your life. Let's solve the problem. I will be abandoned and I don't think I can handle it. I'm unworthy. I'll be hurt. Write it down. Write it down for yourself. You don't have to write it in the comment section, but we appreciate you sharing too. I'm too much for anyone. It doesn't matter. I don't matter much to people. Mm-hmm. So these are the beliefs. You can see as I'm reading off some of these beliefs, how these aren't going to work for a relationship, are they? They're not going to help our relationships to go well. So we have to change these beliefs. We have to change the beliefs. So what I want you to do is take your belief and I want you to examine it for quality. For instance, is it totally accurate? Is your belief totally scientifically accurate? Or is it the whole picture? Or is it biased? Is it negative? Or is it beneficial? Is it detrimental? Because if it's one of those things that's negative or detrimental or not helpful to us, then we may need to change it. So try to identify, as opposed to this belief, what would be a more adaptive belief to hold? As opposed to this belief, what would be a more adaptive belief to hold? So, for instance, if your belief is, I'll just end up getting disappointed, what is a more beneficial belief to hold towards relationships? How about that uh, there will be ups and there will be downs, but I can handle whatever comes? Pain is temporary. Absolutely. Write down the opposite or the more beneficial belief for whatever your belief is. And try to take a moment here and identify for yourself what would be ideally a more beneficial belief. If your belief, for instance, is I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough to be loved, I'm not lovable, and then they'll leave. What is a more beneficial belief to have? More accurate belief. Well, that's shame, right? So the more accurate belief is I am good enough because we all are. I am worthy because we all are. I am lovable because we all are, right? And so someone can love me, and that's the more accurate belief. That's the more beneficial belief. So write that down. I am lovable. Someone could love me. Someone could love me. That is possible. Technically possible, right? Of course. So write that down because that's more beneficial. If you're saying, oh, it's going to end or I'm going to be abandoned, it's not worth it. A better belief is it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. It's better to have loved and lost. In this life, the reality is everything is temporary. So just because your favorite show is going to end, do you just not watch it? If you hear there's a really good movie, people are like, you got to go see this movie. It's so good. Do you go, oh, no, it'll probably just end? No. We don't have to be that way with relationships either. Why would we do that? Oh, I don't know. It could end. Yeah, but we don't know when it will end. We might get 60 years out of that sucker. Maybe 10, maybe 10 days. We don't know. So why would you take something that could last for 60 years and sit around worrying about the fact that it's going to end? Of course it's going to end. It's all going to end. Everything's going to end. It's actually not a profound or intelligent reason to avoid a relationship. The fact that it's going to end. Of course it's going to end. We know that. We know that. Relationships are very, very valuable in life. It doesn't mean we all need romantic relationships, but we don't want to avoid all types of relationships or avoid developing the skills or relationship skills. We don't want to avoid that. That's useless because it's going to end. The reality is a more beneficial belief. I will be able to handle whatever comes. It's better to have loved and lost. It's better to be able to say, I had a really wonderful marriage, even though it was 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It was amazing. People who lost someone that they truly loved don't say, I wish I would have never met them. Because they're saying if they truly love the person and it was a wonderful experience of their life, they say, yeah, I'm sad that I lost them, but I would never take it back. So it will be worthwhile. And also, that ending is not guaranteed to come immediately. We don't know when that ending will come. We may get 60 years, which is another beneficial belief. I may get 60 years out of this relationship, or 50, or 40, or 30. This, of course, probably depends a little more on age, right? But look at how much time you could get out of it. I'm just checking to see if there's any more examples that I missed of detrimental beliefs people have about relationships. Um, I've been hurt before, or I've been scarred before. I had a bad experience before. That's true. That's true. That's true. But what's a more beneficial belief? Because right at that point, what we're doing is we're focusing on all the bad. So we're doing negative filtering. But we can also focus on the good that we've received out of past relationships or the potential good that can come out of relationships. Focusing on all the bad, of course, will make us afraid to do anything. You've had cars that have broken down on you before, haven't you? Yeah. But is it adaptive for you to decide never to get in a car again? because some of them have failed? No. Some of us have been in whole car accidents and we still choose to get back behind the wheel. Why? Because it's beneficial. So the fact that something bad happened in the past should not dictate the way we conduct the rest of our lives. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm too much for anyone. How about I need to find someone who can handle all of me? It's a more beneficial belief. I'm a lot, so I want someone who can handle this. Right. Yeah. Obviously, everyone's not going to be the one, but we're looking for a minority, a small minority of people, the top of the top, who would be able to take all of us. I don't matter much to people. How about I'm lovable? So if someone is the right person for me, then I will matter to them. I always mess up relationships. That's a detrimental belief. I always mess things up. First of all, it's not even accurate. You don't always mess things up. Maybe you've made mistakes in the past, but you don't always mess things up. In reality, everyone is imperfect. Everything is imperfect. And so I have my ability to do my best. I maintain the capability to do my best moving forward. It's a more beneficial belief rather than I mess everything up. No, no. We go in, we do what we can. As we call it in our language, we say we're doing our best. I'm damaged. I'm too damaged for a relationship. Not beneficial. Not beneficial. How about I'm wise from my experience? I'm wise from my experience. The best thing we can learn, everyone, from the hurt of our past relationships is that we can overcome, is that we can handle a lot. The best thing we can learn from the past of our relationships is that things are temporary. And so not to become overly attached. It's our job to manage how attached we become. We shouldn't lose ourselves in a relationship. We should be able to have the relationship, enjoy the relationship, maintain the self. That's our responsibility. And so if you're going to take your past and you're going to live the rest of your life smaller because of the experiences of the past, then you learned nothing. It was all a waste. Again, if you're going to take your past and you're going to now live the rest of your life smaller as a result, then it was all a waste. The, the past should empower you because the past has information, which is knowledge, and knowledge is power. So we have to be empowered by our past, by what we know. We've been there. We've done that. We've felt it. Now we can handle anything that comes. Now we're ready. So now you know how to enter into a relationship without letting your guard down too much in certain areas, but still remaining open for the experience and for the attack, for the connection. Detrimental belief, I'll end up giving too much to them and not enough to myself. Adaptive belief, I'm in control of how much I give moving forward. I've learned from my past, so I'm wiser. Okay, so you take a note for what's going to be a more beneficial belief. And the way that you come to adapt that belief is you write down all of the evidence that supports the new, more beneficial belief. And you write down the evidence against the old belief. Does that make sense? So you're going to write down all of the points of evidence that you can find that support the new, more beneficial belief. For instance, what evidence do I have that supports that I'm in control of how I act in the future? Oh, because I'm in control of how I act right now, because each person is in control of their actions. Oh, yeah, there's tons of evidence. And what evidence do I have that I'll just make the same mistake moving forward? None. I'm just trying to base my future on my past. That doesn't sound very practical, right? And so then we can cross out the old belief, adopt the new one. Let's move forward. We also have to change our bias in order to be successful in healing. So take a look at your bias. The bias is the same for all of these detrimental beliefs. And the bias is fear mentality. I'm going to allow fear to guide my life. That's your bias. That's your bias. I'm going to allow fear to guide my life. So as a result, I will not do relationships anymore. I'll run from them. And if I get them, I'll just be an anxious wreck the whole time. Because fear is my God. That's what I'm going to bow down to. How does that sound? Does it sound like a healthy bias? No. That fear acts in the antithesis to faith. It holds you down, it holds you back. It is an emotional crisis, it is a spiritual crisis, and it needs to stop immediately. So, what's the rule? Well, one of our 12 laws of inner peace, of healing and happiness is never do anything out of fear. Fear is not an appropriate motivator for our actions. That's not why we have fear. It's a misuse of the gift. Yes, fear is a gift and you're misusing it. What is the gift of fear? The gift of fear is it's assigned to you. You get it immediately as at birth to inform you. It's there to inform you if something is potentially detrimental to you. That's all. So, should I feel fear when something like the idea of a relationship comes up? Sure. Because could it potentially harm me? Yeah. If I let somebody close to me, they can potentially harm me. So I should feel a little fear. That would make sense. The key is don't be guided by the fear. Don't allow the fear to decide your life. Does that make sense to you? The difference between feeling the fear and allowing the fear to guide you? Let me give you a quick example. Let's say I financed you and set you up in business. And I said, here you go. Here's a business. I want you to run this. And then I gave you as a gift a secretary, a personal assistant. And the secretary's job or the assistant's job is to handle some of the day-to-day paperwork, administrative stuff for you so that you could focus on the big picture running the business, marketing, sales, right? And the general direction of where this business is going. You're going to solve the major problems. The assistant's job is just to let you know if you're running over on your budget. It's to let you know if they need something to pay some bills, right? That's the assistant's job. Good. The assistant is a gift, right? Yes. Now, should you allow the assistant to run your entire company for you? Should you become the assistant to the assistant? Should you start reporting to him or her? Should you start asking them for time off? Should you call your assistant and be like, hey, I've been working a lot this week, putting in overtime as the owner. I was just wondering, do you think I can have off next week, Saturday? Should you do that with your assistant? No. Maintain your authority and your responsibility. You were put in charge of this business. Likewise, with the body, you were put in charge of the self. Fear was given to you as a gift. It is an assistant to the self. It's like a security system. It's like a bodyguard. He's your personal security. He lets you know, he punches you in the heart, and lets you know, hey, something could harm you. And you go, oh, jeez, man. But you don't allow this guy to be the CEO. You just say, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I got it. Oh, God. That's how you're supposed to respond to fear. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I got this. And then you decide what to move on with. Does that make sense? That's how we handle fear. So this fear bias has got to go. Like, oh, I'm going to let my life be guided by fear. Unacceptable. From now on, you're the CEO. The fear works for you. It's your personal assistant, your bodyguard. Finally, we need to change our behaviors. So, what's the behavior? Very simple. Go out, make some new relationships. Just do it. Go right out. Just go. Just make new relationships. I don't know. Is it that simple? The process of going and connecting with others will help to diminish the fear over time. So you're going to have the fear, but your fear starts to calm down, just like a bodyguard calms down around people you know well. The fear calms down around actions that you know well, things you do often. We fear what we don't know, and you don't know how to talk to people because you don't ever talk to people, or you don't know how to get into a relationship because you're avoiding relationships. You don't know how to be a girlfriend or how to be a wife or how to be a husband or how to be a boyfriend because you're too busy running. Don't do that. Or you don't know how to be a friend. So go out and start relationships. If you remember, if you were here maybe about a year or two ago, I talked about an experiment that I ran in my own life. Summer of 2022, joined a community social group and I made various connections. I don't remember the numbers exactly, but it was something like 22 total attempted connections. And out of the 22 connections, roughly about seven of those connections um, ended in some type of abandonment of myself. So seven of those connections abandoned me. Like three of them, like two ghosted me. One of them just kind of like drifted away, like nothing personal. They didn't actively ghost me. One of them drifted away. Um, and I forgot what happened with the other three. Those ended in some reason that they didn't want to be my friend. But then it turned out that there was another about five that I rejected. I didn't ghost them or anything, but they wanted to have maybe more of a relationship than I wanted to have. And so I was like, no, no, we're not doing that. So I rejected about five advancing connections. So all in all, that's about 12 failures out of 22. 22 attempts at connection, 12 failures. Now, how do I feel? Should I look at that and should I say, I'm not doing relationships anymore? 12 failures, all the abandonment. Or does it make more sense to say, it's a numbers game? Because isn't that what relationships, friendships are? They're numbers games. Not everyone's going to be a good match. Why would all 22 of the people that I meet be a good match? That would be a red flag on my part. That means that I'm out there being a chameleon and people pleasing. I'm not supposed to make 22 good matches out of 22 attempts. It makes no sense. 22 attempts is going to yield me, in this case, a little less than 50% remained my friends. But hold on a second. What I focus on is the benefit. I made 10 friends, 10 people that I like hanging out with and that seem to like hanging out with me. 10 people, 10 friends. Summer of 2022 alone. I'm not talking about summer of 2023. I'm not talking about right now. I'm coming up on summer 24. I'm about to make another 10 friends. And yeah, I'd probably made another 10 and 24, 23. You understand? But I'm talking just summer of 2022 because I put myself out there because I got rejected about 7 times or something like that. I got 10 friends out of it. Hello? Worth it. Worth it. It's easy. Worth it. So what's the secret? It's secure attachment. Instead of having the maladaptive beliefs, I went with the adaptive beliefs. Do you think there wasn't times that it was awkward? Do you think there wasn't times I was the new guy? You think there wasn't times where I had to be the fool before I could become the master at whatever the activity was? You think there wasn't times where we got into to fights or arguments or there was drama behind the scenes? Of course, all that stuff happened. But in the end, I got 10 buddies. It's fun. It's fine. Now I'm good. Right? So it's your job now to go out and perform the behaviors that will get you a different result.